Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Ask Us Anything or Awoowa, where we gather your questions from the internet and answer them. In today's episode, we find out a good budget monitor with a high refresh rate for under 700 ringgit. Is gaming on a Mac computer possible, and do all EVs support 350 kilowatt DC fast charging? Sophie, cue the intro. Kicking things off with the first question. Best budget monitor under 700 ringgit, at least sRGB 100%, and I want high FPS if possible. He. Well, to answer your question, I turn to the resident monitor expert here at SoyaCincau, Mr. Raymond. He recommends the Acer Nitro VG270E, which comes in a 27-inch screen size, or the Acer Nitro VG240YE, which sports a smaller 24-inch display. The only difference between these two monitors is the screen size, while all other specs are identical. Starting with the panel, it features a 1920 by 1080 Full HD resolution IPS display and covers 99% of the sRGB color space. You also get a 100Hz refresh rate with a 1 millisecond response time. Around the back, there's an HDMI port and a display port. As for pricing, the 24-inch model goes for 459 ringgit, while the 27-inch model comes in at 549 ringgit. Acer also bundles a free DisplayPort cable with the purchase of these monitors. You can find links to these monitors down in the description. Moving on to the next question. Can you play games on a Mac? For example, if I bought one to play GTA 5, is it okay, or should I go for a gaming PC? If you had to game on a Mac computer, there are a couple of games that are officially supported on the platform. In Steam, for example, you can filter games supported on Mac OS by clicking on the Apple icon in your Steam library. Dota 2 has support for Mac OS and will allow you to install and play the game. For unsupported games in your library, the download button will be grayed out and you will see a note saying available for Windows. To know if the game is supported on Mac OS before purchasing, you can scroll down to the System Requirements section and look for Mac OS support. If you don't see it, then the game will only run on a Windows computer. Alternatively, you can also filter the games sold in the store by platform. Unfortunately, GTA 5 is currently not supported on Mac OS. If you are going to play games on your Mac computer, do note that performance will vary based on the type of hardware it's running. Older Intel-based Mac computers could be optioned with discrete Radeon graphic cards, but these were workstation cards intended for things like video editing and photo editing. Therefore, they didn't have the necessary gaming drivers required to play games optimally. Meanwhile, Mac computers that came with Intel integrated graphics just didn't have the graphical horsepower to run games at playable frame rates. On the latest Mac computers powered by Apple's in-house M series processors, you can get playable frame rates at medium to high graphic settings thanks to their more powerful integrated graphic processor. However, you will need to get either a Pro, Max or Ultra variant of the processor for this. But there are a couple of caveats to note here. Firstly, most of these games were developed for Intel-based Mac computers and their x86 architecture. Therefore, the games will need to run on Apple's Rosetta 2 emulator, which takes a toll on the performance of the game. One of the games that will run natively on Apple Silicon using Apple's Metal API is Resident Evil Village, which was showcased during WWDC 2022. Secondly, even though the integrated graphic processor on the M series chip is way more powerful than that of Intel's, it is still limited to 1080p gaming for now. If you want to game at 1440p or 4K resolution, then the Ultra variant of the processor is the one to get. But you are still limited to medium settings on most AAA titles, while esports titles should have no issue running at maxed out graphic settings. However, the Mac Studio with the M1 Ultra currently starts from 16,799 ringgit. For a third of that price, you can build a more capable Windows gaming PC that can achieve higher frame rates at the same graphic settings and resolution. Not to mention the upgradability factor that a Windows gaming PC offers, allowing you to swap out older components for newer ones without needing to buy a whole new computer. Moreover, you don't have to deal with emulators and platform restrictions since almost all games are developed for Windows computers. Therefore, if you want to enjoy your games with a peace of mind, I recommend getting a Windows gaming computer. The final question for this episode comes from our coverage of Gentari's 350kW DC fast charger. Do all cars support that fast charging speed? The answer is no. Not all EVs support 350 kilowatt charging speed. An EV needs to be engineered with an 800 volt battery architecture in order to support up to 350 kilowatt charging speed. EVs like the Porsche Taycan, Audi e-tron GT, Kia EV6 and Hyundai Ioniq 5 are some examples with an 800 volt battery architecture. In most other EVs, you'll find an aging 400 volt battery architecture which supports up to 150 kilowatt charging speeds, while some manufacturers are able to squeeze a bit more out of it, like the BMW i4 which charges at 200 kilowatts. Then there are EVs that charge at a lower speed like the Hyundai Kona Electric at 77 kilowatts. Now, this may be confusing to you, but you actually don't need to worry about it. Both the EV and the charger can communicate with each other, allowing the charger to supply the correct charging power to the EV. So, if you were to plug in a Hyundai Kona Electric that only supports 77 kilowatt charging speed into a 350 kilowatt charger, the charger will only output 77 kilowatts. But do take note that faster chargers tend to have a more expensive rate, so it is more worth it to use a lower rated charger if your EV can't take advantage of the higher speed. Well, that concludes our episode for today. Remember to like our video if you liked it and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok to get the latest news on almost everything. Thank you guys so much for watching and I will catch you guys in the next Awoowa! Bye!